Welcome to Starting Point Experience. You are on week 3 and we are talking about building boundaries. I believe that building healthy boundaries is a key component of establishing relationships that are based not on what you can do, not on what you're producing, but that are based on who you truly are. Because when you are empowered and confident in your relationships, then there's no problem saying no. There's no problem setting limits because you're confident that regardless of what you may or may not be able to provide, you're able to say no, right? And that should be true in all of our relationships. And so just for the sake of, maybe you don't know what boundaries are. Maybe that term doesn't necessarily resonate with you. But what it is, in a nutshell, boundaries are limits that you set on what you will accept of another person. So that is a limit on the things they would say to you, also limits on things that they do, their actions, the things that you will and will not accept. Those are your boundaries. All right. So for every person, that is going to look different. You know, the boundaries that are important to me may not necessarily matter to you or to someone else. And so you have to now be in tune with who you are, what you like, what you appreciate, and begin to set boundaries from that place of understanding who you are, how you relate to the world, and what matters most to you. And so we just want to go through a couple of basics when it comes to boundaries. The first being just some things that I think we all need to keep in mind in terms of boundaries. And then after that, we're going to go into what boundaries look like in different relational dynamics. Okay, stay with me. So the first thing we need to remember is to take care of yourself first. A whole lot of times it's easy for us to take care of everyone else, and you want to be there for everyone and you want to champion the cause for every person that is in your life, and that is noble, that is beautiful. It's part of what makes you you, and I totally get that. But if you are not taking care of yourself, you're not going to have the energy to really show up in a way that's going to be impactful and powerful. And what also is going to end up happening is you're going to build up resentment, because when you're depleted, there won't be anybody around to really help you and to pour back into you. Because what happens a lot of times when we don't establish boundaries is that we don't invite intimacy. Because what boundaries do, right? They protect our space, they protect our energy, and they tell each person how far and how close they can get to us. But when we don't have those things in place, nobody is really close, or on the flip side, everybody is too close. Everybody is crowding your space. Everybody thinks that they have full access to you, and that can be draining. If you find that a whole lot of times in relationship, you feel like you're the person that's always giving, and people can always count on you, and they can always call on you, and you're the dependable one and the strong one and all of that stuff. If you find that that is the dynamic in 90% of your relationships, and you don't necessarily feel as if that's reciprocated, it may not be that these people are just so selfish and terrible. It may be that you have not established boundaries. You do not have personal boundaries in place that let people know the dynamic of the relationship. And that can happen for a whole lot of reasons. And one of the main reasons that happens is because it's rooted in fear. A lot of us have fears of what will happen if we say no. And that can come from a whole lot of things. But we're not going to get fully into that until our session. So be sure to book your session the minute that you're done with your assignment for the week. All right? So take care of yourself first. If you remember nothing else, take care of yourself first. Set boundaries, not because you want to limit people, not because you want to exclude them, not because you want to hurt their feelings, but set limits to take care of you and to ensure that you have the energy to be who God has called you to be. Boundaries go both ways. Remember that. So the same way that you want your boundaries to be respected, the same way that you want the freedom and the confidence to say, you know what, that opportunity isn't for me. And the same way that you want to say, you know what, I would love to help you, but I'm not going to be able to accommodate that request for you today. You need to respect when others are telling you, no, sorry, I can't do that for you today. The time limit, it's too short notice and I can't show up, I can't make it. We have to respect the boundaries of others if we're going to really live a life that embraces healthy boundaries. We have to recognize that it goes both ways. Now let's talk about boundaries in friendships. We love friends, we love friends, we love having friends, we love being friends to all of the amazing people in our lives. Friends are great. So it's important to understand and establish the different dynamics of our friendships. All of your friends are not going to be the same. They're not going to have the same access to you, and they're not going to all be the same people. So obviously you're going to have to set boundaries based on the dynamics of each friendship. It's going to, you have to be able to say, listen, this is what I'm comfortable lending. This is what I'm comfortable doing in terms of time. This is how much time I'm going to spend by you. At this time I have to go because I have other engagements. You have to be able to have the freedom and the flexibility to do those things without feeling as if you're going to be shut down, without feeling as if, you're going to be ostracized or manipulated into doing something that you don't really want to do, because that's not how friendship works. Friends don't manipulate friends. Remember that. And the same way, you don't want to be that friend who people are afraid to say no to because you throw a temper tantrum, or you start pouting, or you go silent, or they don't hear from you for 3 days. You don't want to be that friend. And you don't want to have those friends. So you have to check the behavior. Physical boundaries are also important. Personal space, when people touch you, they are all under your control. You get to say no. You get to say when. Workplace boundaries. Now, we don't set these as much as we should, but workplace boundaries are essential if you're going to maintain the integrity of your overall life. If you're going to live and actually have a life, you have to set workplace boundaries, because I promise you there are a lot of companies that will gladly accept you working 2 to 3 shifts and working overtime every day and working your fingers to the bone and being tired and depleted and groggy. They will accept it. But is that what's best for you? Is that the life that you want? Do you want to feel that way? Do you want to be exhausted all the time? If not, there may need to be some changes. You may need to have to evaluate that. Now, romantic boundaries. Ooh. So romantic boundaries are obviously going to be different at every stage of the relationship. And so the boundaries that you set with someone, that you've been dating for a few weeks are going to be a lot different from the boundaries that you have with someone that you've been married to for 10 years, for obvious reason. The relationship would have been at a different place. You would have had different experiences. And so the boundaries are going to be based on that. But the rule of thumb is to remember that you are your own person, and so is the person that you're in relationship with. So you have to give people the freedom to have their own ideas, their own identity, their own perspective without trying to change it into something that's comfortable for you. And so taking responsibility for your own feelings, for your own way of perceiving things, and allowing your partner to do the same, it helps you to build a bond that's based on intimacy and not on fear. And so it's important to feel comfortable and to feel like you can trust your partner with the truth of who you are. That is how we build intimacy, and boundaries are a key component in that, because boundaries let your partner know, listen, this I'm not okay with, but yeah, we can go this way. So it's important to communicate that in a healthy and in a loving way. All right, so all that being said, we just want to keep in mind what happens without boundaries: a lack of self-control. A lot of times you're going to feel cheated in relationships. And so even in those dynamics, you just want to ask yourself the question, why is it so hard for me to say no? Listen to Holy Spirit, connect with Him, and really listen to the answers and see, why is it that it's so hard for you to set boundaries? Do the exercise, do your assignment, and when you come into your session, come open, come ready to work and to talk through all of the things that come up, because I know that this assignment is going to dig up some things that you may not have even thought about before. And so I'm looking forward to our session for this week. I'm going to see you later.